Europa's Blood, a novel by James Daniel Shunk. In our last chapter, U-Jin Song and his friends arrive at the Martian space station Spartacus for ship repairs. They meet with a local peace initiative group and find out details of Europa's water blockade. After repairs, they are dispatched to Jupiter's XO-1 with plans to trade Song's time machine key with the state for blockade clemency. But the time machine key is only bait. A protocol titled Red Paper 13 stipulates that a dangerous time machine must be either secured or destroyed. That key exchange, meaning trade the key for ending the blockade, is only to delay state action until Europa's security net can be properly secured against a rogue insertion team. Chapter 11. Europa Infiltration. Kumo stood outside the wall of Galileo Station's Industrial Complex 1's maintenance center in the deep snow. Of all the buildings within the complex, this one was special. It offered him unsecured access to the subnetwork of service tunnels. With a hand gesture, he signaled his war mech. The machine stomped forward and positioned itself by the warehouse doors. Its arm came up, and a menacing laser attached to the limb sparked. A blinding white energy beam shot out and began to cut into the door-locking mechanism. Kumo looked nervously at the time on his HUD. It was fading and blinking dimly. The cold was affecting the electronic components. If the time was right, he was well behind schedule. The cold was also affecting him. He was shaking nearly uncontrollably. Kumo needed to show discipline. He moved his mind away from his physical concerns and back to the mission. The first worry was his late arrival time at the complex. A warning light would blink in the monitoring center when he pulled back the doors. According to the plan, an undercover state agent would turn it off. If not deactivated, he'd be fighting a swarm of security staff in moments. Kumo looked at his blinking HUD again and tapped it several times. Impatiently, he focused on the beam from the war mech. The lock broke and fell away into the snow. Kumo stepped forward and grabbed the door handle, preparing himself to pull it back. A tall, dark figure stood in the Security Core Operations Center. He had been standing by the control console longer than expected, waiting for the warning signal to blink. It had been difficult for him to escape from his day's meetings. He would be missed. He had sent the regular monitor, Yako, his close comrade, on a bogus errand. The moment he returned, the mission would be in jeopardy. What is taking so long? Why the long delay in seeing the warning light? He was told the exact time the human infiltration agent would attempt entry. He looked at his watch again. What would he do if Yako returned too early? He grew increasingly agitated. When the light finally blinked, signaling a building breach, he nearly jumped out of his hide. He turned off the warning signal and quickly exited the monitoring center, passing Yako in the hall. He waved to him as he rushed past. "I can't talk. I have to catch a shuttle back to Callisto." Kumo stepped out of the blustery snowstorm and into the comfortable, climate-controlled building. The snow-covered bot stomped through the door behind him, slamming it shut and sealing out the wind and swirling snow. Kumo walked around a parked snow crawler with oversized tires into a tool room. He found a descending set of stairs, which put him into the subfloor access tunnel system. In the subfloor tunnel, he found power and water conduits running along the walls and above him. Kumo stuffed his heavy thermal gear and snowshoes behind the conduit. From here, he would travel light. He would take only his pack and rifle. He wished he could have avoided all this. A state mole in Jupiterian immigration had seen his face come over the terrorist alert feed. This forced open the door for the covert insertion. He wondered how the Jupiterians had received such quick intel on him. He moved along quickly with the war mech stomping after him. The sub-access tunnel would lead him out of the maintenance center and into another complex of buildings. He felt cool air pass over his face and saw the light above. The overhead concrete was now metal mesh grates. He turned the last corner and found a ladder. At the top, he would find the plasma reactor chamber. The large, round-domed chamber had been constructed decades before to house the monster quantum jump reactor that fueled the installation and Moon's Seki net with power. Kumo and the war mech came into the chamber. The mech used its thrusters to get past the ladder. The reactor was shaped like a tall glass cylinder, revealing a pulsing blue electrical storm. Kumo found an iron rung ladder attached to the outer casing rib. He began to climb, leaving the war mech behind to stand guard. After many rungs, Kumo pulled himself, sweating and panting, onto a narrow upper catwalk that circled the power reactor, ending at a control booth. He rested for only a short moment before slowly walking toward it. A few minutes more, and he was at the door. He cut off the lock with a laser tool, letting it clatter to the metal catwalk. He kicked the red-hot lock to the side, pulled the door open, and entered. On the other side of the small, dimly lit room was a control console with many monitoring screens blinking quietly. One panel was marked, Main Pumping Station Elevator Circuit Breaker. Then below, Caution. Do not run maintenance cycle without activating redundant systems. Critical system. Restart here at next system reboot. Kumo pulled a magnetized explosives device from a pocket on his gear belt. He stuck it to the side of the console. He knew the deadly device had to be placed inside the bomb-proof room. The first phase of the mission was complete. With the detonation of this device, the pump elevator would be inoperable. No one would travel down to the pumping station to stop him from Phase 2 of his plan, destroying the pump power generators. However, destroying the elevator was the last resort. He did want to escape the generator explosion after all. If he killed the elevator's controls, he would not have the time to return to the surface using the stairs. The device he put here was set to explode at the last possible second to avoid drawing attention to him and his plans. He could, however, blow it remotely at any time if desired. He hoped this would not be necessary. The second phase was to divert power from the Moon's security net. The first way was to shut down the plasma reactor, which was impossible. There was no power-down system, and it was of sturdy build. It could resist ice quakes and fires. But a few carefully placed explosives at the main pumping station power generators below could shut down the power to the security net. Backup systems were designed to protect life support, the pumping station's functions, and not the security net. He knew the water the pump supplied was considered part of life support. With the pump power generators destroyed, backup systems would kick in. All power to the security grid would be diverted to the pump and life support systems. The Moon would be defenseless if the backup systems were to go online. The state assumed that this security lapse, the fact that the backup systems did not power the security net, was a mere oversight. The state had had a spy working inside the pumping facility for 2 years to extract that helpful little tidbit of knowledge. The state was banking on the intel being correct. Kumo opened the top of the bomb and then looked at his HUD watch. Luckily, it was working again. It read 12:32 p.m. State Standard Time. He punched in his code and the time on the keypad, activating it. The display started at 35:28, meaning 35 hours, 28 minutes until detonation, and began to count down. The timer was a simple fail-safe mechanism, in case something happened to him. He would be watching the elevator from below. If anyone called it, he would remotely detonate the explosives set here. All other explosives he would put at the pump below, with the timers synced to this one. He patted the pocket that held the remote detonator for the elevator controls. He looked at the timer as he closed the bomb lid. It was at 35:27, counting down to the dawn of the Harvest Fest and the deadline for the Jupitorians and Martians to surrender the time machine key. Kumo left the room and quickly and quietly retraced his steps. When reunited with his war mech companion, he walked around the reactor base until he found the two big elevator doors leading to the pump below. Using a decoder, he overrode the controls. The doors opened. Kumo, followed by the war mech, walked onto the deck of the spacious service elevator. The doors closed, and it rapidly descended through the moon's icy crust to the freshwater pumping station below.